Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this hearing today. I want to thank the witnesses for your valuable testimony here today. The title of today's hearing, Examining Chronic Drug Shortages in the United States, is real and it's acute. And like many of my colleagues, I've heard directly from my constituents on the issues of persistent drug shortages and the ramifications and challenges that affect them and their loved ones. I have a district that has a lot of rural territory, and timely access to life-saving medications is essential to safeguarding patient health. During my time in Congress, I've had the great pleasure of working with an organization in my district, Illinois Cancer Care, ILC, which is a foundation with locations throughout most of the rural parts of my district and specializes in the treatment of patients with cancer and blood disorders. ILC is currently having an incredibly difficult time locating a supply of Rydapt, which they have 3 patients suffering from acute leukemia requiring this medication. ILC is spending countless hours calling specialty pharmacists to ask about their supply chain and the frustrations with coordinating with the patient's prescription insurance to allow for out-of-network overrides has been significant, and ensuring timely shipment to avoid potential delays. These patient stories showcase why reducing drug shortages is of paramount importance. I have a question for Dr. Schleicher. As I mentioned, cancer patients are being forced to possibly delay treatment because the drugs they need are in short supply. Are there potential disparities between patients being treated for cancer at a facility in a rural area compared to a more urban area?
Thank you very much for the question, Congressman. My concern is potentially yes, especially with some of the suggestions about really emphasizing hospitals having these drugs. Obviously, there's an importance for hospitals, but also a lot of these community oncology practices, like the one you're mentioning, in rural America are not part of a hospital. And where we practice, Tennessee Oncology is very similar to the practice in Illinois. We have 35 clinics. Most of them are rural. We help cover hospitals, but we are not part of a hospital system, so we deliver the treatment in our treatment rooms where patients live. And if hospitals get drug, then that means we will not, if there's a limited supply. So to that point, we need to make sure that any solutions don't further exacerbate disparities based off where patients live. Or in our case, we take all the uninsured patients in the state. One of our large hospital systems, which was actually 340B, doesn't see uninsured or even Medicaid patients in the outpatient. So if we were not able to have those drugs, patients would, 1, not be able to get them close to home, and 2, certain patients, either without ability to pay or insurance status, would be unable to get them as well.
Thank you for that answer. I'm going to pivot now to another focus, which is supply chains and the dependency on foreign countries. Between this committee and the Select Committee on China, which I also serve on, we regularly discuss our global economy and the geopolitical challenges we face. And it's important for this committee to explore proactive measures to address the underlying causes of drug shortages and strengthen medication supply chains that are imperative to ensuring continuity of care and promote overall healthcare resilience. It's no secret that the U.S. drug supply is heavily dependent on foreign suppliers. I share the concerns of many of my colleagues as it pertains to the CCP, Communist Chinese Party, and allowing them to operate under a different set of rules and standards, which they do. Our allies around the globe are craving U.S. leadership in this space. It is important that we step up to the plate and find ways to support American businesses looking to prioritize more domestic drug manufacturing. I've been proud to work, I'm proud of the work that we've done with this Congress to identify instances of malign activities and practices by foreign countries like China that leave the U.S. more vulnerable. But we need to do more and do it quickly. I'll now turn to Dr. Schandelmeyer. Can you provide an example of unfair trade practices that foreign countries, particularly China, use to undercut American drug manufacturing?
Thank you for that question. China, over time, has developed policies as a government about sectors of the pharmaceutical market that they want to enter and, in fact, dominate. They subsidize the companies that are involved. They develop the infrastructure, hubs, or they have whole areas larger than the D.C. area that are manufacturing products. So they subsidize them. Then they, at times, engage in predatory pricing or even dumping a product in the market to drive other players out of the market. And one category of drugs that particularly China dominates is the fermentation antibiotics. About 80% of the antibiotics in the world are produced in China. And so if they went out of the market, or if there was a nuclear power plant in the middle of the 3 or 4 companies that make those antibiotics, and we had a Chernobyl incident, we wouldn't have antibiotics. And it would, yes, Civica and others could make antibiotics, but they can't do it tomorrow. They can't do it next year. We're talking years down the line to develop the capacity to replace that. So China has used a number of tactics, clear strategy, investing in infrastructure, predatory pricing, and dumping in the market.
Thank you for that. I yield back.